And so I've been with MLive and Saginaw News for 15 years, from intern, part-time to full-time reporter to trending and state team reporter to editor.
You rose the ranks.
Yeah.
Today, we're joined by someone whose storytelling has deeply impacted this community, Bob Johnson. Bob spent most of his career as a journalist with the Saginaw News, giving voice to stories that pulled at the heartstrings and reflected his own personal struggles. This is his Healthier Me story. Bob, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's long overdue.
Oh, yes.
I'm so excited to be having this conversation and having you in the hot seat.
Because
you've been asking the questions and now I get to ask you questions.
Yeah, it feels weird, but I've been watching this show.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if am I gonna ever be invited to sit in the hot seat?
Yes.
Even though I'm awkward in the hot seat, I'm really not a person to be interviewed. I like to do the interviewing, but let's see how this works.
Yeah, I say the same thing. So I'm going to ask you, why do you feel that way? Is it because you like to stay hidden a little bit?
It's weird because locally I have a public presence, right? But it's still kind of in the background. You know, when I was the news person, I put the story out, but you didn't see me. You saw the subject, who the story's about, or if you hear something I said, likely it's on Facebook, so you're not seeing me actually give a speech about it.
Right.
You know, but yeah, the background is. I call it weird because I'm in the background, but I'm still kind of public in the forefront. But I like the background better.
Same, and I will agree. And I have to say congratulations on your new role as Director of Public Relations for the Saginaw Public School District.
Yes.
And being in PR, it's all about being in the background and making sure your organization or brand shine. So what a role.
Exactly. And that's why I think this was a good fit too. It's different than news. They call it the dark side. But I always had a love for PR, for marketing, for PR and things like that. How to tell someone else's story, how to get them the attention for the markets that they need the attention for, how to get them involved and get buy-in from the community or the customers or the demographics that they serve. You know, how to build a brand. You know,
why you call it the dark side though?
That's what
I've never heard of that.
That's what they call it.
Okay.
If you have any journalists who were reporters before being PR, you will always hear them say, "Oh, you went to the dark side."
Oh, gotcha.
It's the dark side.
Okay.
If you was always PR, you probably never heard it.
Yeah, I've always been in PR, so I've never heard of it.
But if you ever went from journalism to PR, they always say you went over to the dark side.
Gotcha. That is so interesting. I'm learning something new every day. I know like some people say it's like the spin doctor or whatever, like they spin stories, but I don't think that. I think PR is just really communicating a brand, an organization, and just trying to tell a story.
Building a brand.
Yep. So what does it mean to you to return to the very school district that helped shape you?
Man, it's I thought about that when I had to go to the school district to a school board meeting when they announced it. They made the announcement. And, of course, they said, you got to say something. And I wasn't prepared to say anything, but I had to think about that. And that's the one thing that I said. It was like, this school district shaped me. I was raised in the school district. My children were raised in the school district. And now I'm back to help this school, help tell the stories within this school district that people usually don't get a chance to hear about. So many cool things. So what it means to me is that coming from the news side, working for the news, for MLive, for the Saginaw News, and Bay City Times, we were able to tell a large amount of stories that covered a large area, you know, everything from community to public safety, public relations, just all type of subjects. With the school district being the PR person, it's like It's like I get to be the news organization just for the district. All of the good things that are going on that we don't have enough reporters to tell those stories. I get to tell those stories, or get away, or find a way to get those stories broadcast on a bigger stage, on a
Yeah.
bigger platform, or internally, even just to the parents in our district, the employees in our district, people who might want to come and work for our district.
Yes.
It's a good way to let them know about all of the great things that's happening in the district.
Oh, that it is so exciting just to hear that. And I'm so happy that you are in that role. That is amazing. And it was just a matter of months that you made this pivot from journalism to PR. So what was that transition like for you? I mean, was it just immediately like a put in the resignation and then you just got the job?
It was tough,
Okay.
and I'm still going through it. As of us recording this is my first month. I started July 1st.
Okay.
Today is August 1st. I don't know if I can say that on here, if y'all
It,
cut it out or
yeah, it's
whatever.
okay.
But um, it's fun. It's I don't regret it. Um, the challenge is switching cultures, learning protocols. I'm going from a news organization where I was at the top. I'm the editor running a newsroom, and it's pretty laid back. The rules were you just know what not to do. Whereas the school district is more structured. You have rules, you have guidelines that you have to follow. You have um, federal and state rules and guidelines and things like that. Protocols. Before you could just decide you gonna up and do something, you gotta make sure that you're within these guidelines. You have culture and you have like this uh, people who have been working together for decades. And you're a newcomer coming in a position that kind of got to deal with every single position in the district. And I need to learn the district. I need to learn where everything is.
Yeah.
So when I say it's a challenge, it's not a bad challenge. It's a good challenge. The transition was it was pretty quick. The opportunity came about earlier this year, and I talked, I prayed, I reached out to a few people that I trusted, and it was the right decision to make. And so I've been with MLive and Saginaw News for 15 years, from intern part-time to full-time reporter to trending and state team reporter to editor.
You rose the ranks.
Yeah, and that was a family for 15 years, and the community was a family. There's so many connections I made and stories I told in the community, and things that people used to say, your journalism impacts the community. I didn't see it, but then when I look back, it's like certain things we covered or didn't cover, or the way we did it did help shape it. So opportunity came along. I had to seek just counsel from people I trusted, and I just figured, I get a chance to still be community based, tell stories in the community and the Saginaw School District. Our school district is the cornerstone and foundation of our community. We educate the leaders of the future. We educate.
That was good. Yeah.
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 We educate the people who are going to run this world. And it starts right here in our district. So what better place to come and be able to highlight these things and be a part of something that powerful, that important in our community.
And it's bigger than you. Like you're serving others.
Way bigger than me. And I had a great career at MLive. And, this is what I tell people. I was still kind of young enough to switch careers and do something different and see if I can be impactful in this career.
I'm sure you will. And while I'm excited about the fact that you have this new role, I am going to do some reflection back on your career as a journalist, because you did spend 15 years there, and it was highly impactful for Saginaw and Bay City and just surrounding areas. So as we reflect, I want you to tell the viewers or listeners who are listening to this show, why should they stick around to listen to this conversation? What do you hope that they'll take from this?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I just hope that the information that they get from me, depending on what we talk about, they get a better understanding of the topics that we talk about. They're able to take something from it to put in their toolbox and use as a resource to even go out and help make our community better.
Gotcha.
Help others be able to make our community better.
Yeah.
Take some type of knowledge. Yeah.
And I think they will. And I think the fact that you've been such a powerful storyteller, even when you've had to tell uncomfortable truths in those articles. So I want to ask you, how did it feel working in an environment where the saying goes, if it bleeds, it leads? What was that like? Because I remember, like, as a public relations person, right? We can send a press release. I can talk about, hey, I got this exhibit opening, this exciting thing. Nope. But if something bad happened, doesn't even matter. So
don't. And I used to tell people all the time, because I had a lot of relationships with people in PR whose job was to get us to write about them. I used to always have to tell them, how do you make yours unique? More unique than the 20 other people who are also having a bake sale for whatever cause that they're having, or the 20 other people who think that this good thing that they're doing, but it's like 30 other people doing that as well. And we only have 5 reporters, and 3 of them have to cover sports, and and the other 2 have to be at a city council meeting. So how does your event stand out, or why is it important? All of them are important, but what makes yours more important to make us say, okay, we cannot ignore that? If it bleeds, it leads. This is the culture we in right now. If it bleeds, it leads simply means that, a lot of things just ain't sexy. It's like a train wreck. You shouldn't be looking at it, but you can't stop looking at it, right? You're going to stop every time. You're like, oh, what is that? You're not learning anything from it. It's not bringing any value to your life or whatsoever. But if it's some drama, people we drawn to the drama. And I used to use a mix of that. I used to have a little trick when I used to cover what I thought was important topics, but I knew they would be boring, like government meetings. I would find the most interesting characters or personalities and report on them, while mixing in the information that the public should know. Like if some special bill was passed, or ordinance was raised, or some conversation was being started. But you got to get them to want to read it first. And usually it's because of some drama happening behind the scenes, like a soap opera. So,
it's unfortunate that it has to even be that way.
It is, but my job was to make sure people had information. And you can put all the information out that you can put so much information out, but if no one is reading it, I'm not really doing my job if it's not reaching anybody.
Right.
I can say I'm doing my job. Well, I put it out there, but I also know how people respond. And if I know how people respond, I can't really say I'm doing my job, because I'm not doing everything I can to make sure that they get the information. There's a difference. Yeah, I put it out there. I'm not gonna wash my hands out there. Or I put it out there and responsibly, I know how to reach them, make sure that that information reaches the highest amount of people as possible. And so you gotta have little tricks. And again, if it bleeds, it leads. It's just simply like, what is making it exciting?
See, I thought, and this is the way you're explaining it is so different than what I thought, because I thought when it said if it bleeds, it leads, meaning like if there was a murder or something like a killing or anything like that.
That's how it originated.
Okay.
Because, we can, and you see this play out every day on social media. nobody's reporting. Let me stop with the voice. I don't want to imitate people. So you would see this play out on social media a lot, or even from PR people. They would pitch you on a story that would say, with all the negative news, here's something positive that you could write about. Or on social media, it's like everybody always reporting all this negative news. All this negative news is no positive. Yet there's a ton more of positive news than there is negative news. But because if it bleeds, it leads, algorithms are set up to where what you like to consume is what is going to continue to feed you. And if we didn't have algorithm, our natural algorithm is going to go and look for the drama. So, of course, if someone is shot, killed, and that's what everybody's talking about, that's what you want to go and look for. That's what's going to stand out. Not all of the positive stories or informational stories that's going to actually add value to your life. You will not see them. You scroll straight past them until you see the one that you like, oh, what's that?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
And I will say this. So this is a little personal story about myself. I did want to go into journalism. And it was like all my life, I was like, I'm going to be a writer. I thought I'd be a book author or something. And then eventually I went to the military, became a public affairs specialist. So I was doing some type of journalism work. And then when I went to Central, I was like, okay, I'm going to go after journalism. Until one day there was a professor that said, come to this meeting. Journalism is dying. Switch your major to PR. And at the time I had no idea like what public relations was or anything like that. But I did make the switch. But what I will say, I honestly was scared to become a journalist because I didn't want to cover stories like that, like around tragedy or anything like that. Because especially coming from our community, well, Saginaw community, it was rough.
I mean, the Black community, period.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yep.
And you had people who said journalism was that I didn't go to school for journalism. I don't even understand how I got into this position I'm in now. Things just happen in my life, and some people call it favor, and but I'm glad it worked out how it worked out. But I used to hear journalism dying. It's just changing. It's not dying. We can always need to have news, and the way that people look at journalism too is we've been looking at it wrong a lot. We think that news is journalism, PR is journalism. What you're doing right now is journalism. You've always been a journalist. Just the traditional sense is, are we in front of a camera or are we writing on the typewriter? No one uses typewriter, but
I don't think the kids know what that is.
It's probably like, what is a typewriter?
They're going to be listening to this interview.
Are we in print? Are we reporting news? And journalism is not just that. It's photojournalism, media, period.
Yeah.
And it reaches so far. It's just we've just deduced it down to just news reporting.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that further. And so I'm curious to know, I know we've talked a little bit off camera about mental health and things like that. And given the fact that we're Black, we come from Saginaw communities, some rough upbringing a little bit. How were you able to separate the work from home life? So when you had to cover some of those negative stories or your other reporters covering it, how were you able to separate that?
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't. The answer most people say, they come up with this, well, I did it this way and I did it that way. What made me so effective is because a lot of things that happen in our community affected me too. I wasn't just a journalist writing about some issue that affected some group. I live in the community. I grew up in this. My family is in this. So it still affect me in some kind of way. Whether we talking about a tax increase in the city, which I live in, or a school district on a on the brink of shuddering, which my children were in, or a shooting that happened, which would be one of my friends' sons, or somebody in my family, or even recently, last year when got on infant mortality, and I wasn't even thinking. I'm writing about infant mortality in the Black community and how black infants in Michigan are 3 times more likely to die before their first birthday than their counterpart than white babies in Michigan. And I'm writing about that. And in August, a year ago almost, I get a call from my own son, who him and my daughter-in-law, his wife, he tell me that their brand new baby, Samani, my granddaughter, she died. And she was like a month. So that affect me. I'm reporting on this thing, which that prompted me to write a column about it, because at this time I'm the editor. So my voice can be amplified a little more than just reporting on the issue. Now I can kind of like give my opinion, and I got a little more power to educate people on things. So I didn't separate my work from home. I would separate, in my later years when I got into management. Sometimes I needed a break, so I would take like these hours I'm absolutely not working. That'd be the only separation, right? But one phrase I used to always say, news never sleep. And in my early in my career, things can be happening at 2 and 3 in the morning, and Bob Johnson was on the scene, and I was there. Or it's the weekend and I'm not even scheduled to work, but I know that this festival that doesn't usually get covered, because nobody really knows about it, but I know about it because I come from this community, so I'm covering it, even though I'm not getting paid, but I'm using our platform, So I guess as a community journalist, reporter, I didn't separate it. I was transparent, and I think that's one of the things that made my job so much fun, so effective. I was probably the most, and this is a brag here a little bit, but I was probably the most accessible journalist to the community that they've had in a long time.
Yeah. And we kind of jumped around because you said a lot, and like I had questions. We were going to lay this thing out, but you went ahead and that's okay. But what you're talking about being a community journalist, and you are so right, because I've been in PR for 10, 15 years.
I followed your career.
Yeah. And I've been emailing you, and you were the one who honestly was responding a lot. And I was just like, okay, I got a plug here. I'm going to keep going. So thank you for that. And thank you for being for the community. I think also what kind of came to my mind too is like when we're thinking about like public safety or like police officers, a lot of those people don't have to live in where they work. And I think that's where the disconnect comes in, because you don't feel anything for these people. But when you're right in it and you see it and you're a part of it, I think it makes the job different. Your experience a little bit different. And that's what it sounds like for you.
Yeah, I used to see that we report on some crime. There was an incident with this after hours club that some people got killed at it. And then all of a sudden, the city officials who are retired now, but the people who were in charge of zoning and things like that, making sure that a club like that wasn't supposed to be operating anyway, it was a shock to them that this thing had been operating. And it wasn't to me or anybody else who lived in the community, because it's been operating for a few years. Yeah. Everybody knew on Friday and Saturday, this is where you go. And it's a big, and it wasn't being hidden or anything, but it wasn't until, a tragedy happened and everybody swooped in. It was like, we got to shut this down. It should have been shut down like years ago. And if we lived in our communities that we care about and that we cover, we would know about these things before they got out of hand. And it's not blaming. That's just the difference between being connected to your community, and kind of not separating, where you
Yeah.
live and your work, because it's kind of always, if you in the public sector, you kind of always serving the public.
And so it sounds like there is no separation. And there was no separation for you.
It can't be really. It really can't be. If you for the good of your community, for your mental health, it's advised that you do it, but how does that really look? How does that really look? There's no real way to do it, because in the same vein, the community that you really care about, there are problems that need to be resolved, things that need to be happen, and they can't happen unless you got the people that can make them happen in a certain way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not a 9 to 5 thing.
Yeah. You're correct. This episode is sponsored by CMU Health. With 8 clinics across the Great Lakes Bay region and surrounding areas, CMU Health provides care for patients from newborns to older adults. Quality health care close to home. To learn more, visit cmuhealth.org. I have to kind of go back because you said some powerful things about the articles you've written over your 15-year career. And being on the PR side, right? I'm working on a safe and separate sleep campaign with CMU Health, Be Well Saginaw, Perinatal Quality Collaborative, Saginaw Community Health Department, and now Great Lakes Bay. So sending out that press release to say, hey, this is what's happening, infant mortality, especially among Black babies, you decided to post that story. Why was that important for you to publish that? Because I send out press releases all the time and sometimes they don't get picked up. But why was that important for you to publish that one?
Before Samani died, I kind of got onto it, and it ties back to having your finger on the pulse of the community. And I started realizing that I started hearing this word I didn't know about, doula. What's a doula? But I knew a person who knew me, and she was trying to explain to me what a doula was. And I came in to do a story about the doulas, and I started learning about infant mortality. So we start writing stories about that. And I've been getting press releases from you about this, and at that time I just started learning about it a lot more. I've always heard about it, about infant mortality and things, and I just started becoming intrigued as to the data that was behind it, and how times have changed so much. And when my granddaughter died, when my son called me that August, that was kind of like the turning point. It was like I'm already kind of writing about it, but I'm not as connected to it. And this gave it a connection. And I talked to him about it, and he he said that the support that they had was great. There was no blame. It happened. Even though it was tough, he said that the support that they got before, during, and after was great, and that he even told me himself, he don't even know if there's a lot of other people out there who would have been in the same situation that even know what's out there for them. So it became important that the column that I wrote after that could address that a little bit. It's the least I can do in the position I was in at that time. That's separate from just reporting on it.
Wow. Wow. And my condolences to you and your family with that loss. Yeah, I know I read the piece. I read your editorial piece. I read the article that you published after that press release. That's pretty tough. And I know you talked about the connection part as to why you put that out there. But what was the response, from people when they did read it? What type of response did you get from that?
The response was it's like it's the type of response you expect to get from something that's important. Everything you write, you want everybody to praise you for it, but it wasn't praise this time. It was like people who I didn't even think was paying attention was calling, and it wasn't praise. You want praise when you do good work, but it was more of them saying thank you for highlighting this thing. It was support. Dr. Mona in Flint, she sent me 2 stuffed animals for their RX Kids campaign, and a letter, and it was people reaching out across the state because of that piece.
Wow.
And it's one of those things that I'm proud of. I didn't put a lot of work into it, but I use my position to be able to, and my voice and my influence to be able to shed a little bit of light on something that's important to a segment of people I didn't even think about for, until it really affected me.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of it. I'm proud of a lot of work I did, but it's pieces like that that I'm very happy that it happened.
When you talked about your son saying that, there was no blame, what does that mean? Or they had the support. What does that mean?
I mean, it happened to anybody, right? But it can happen to less people, if they knew about some of the resources that's out there for them. But what it does say is things happen too. Sometimes things just happen. And his strength was that, he didn't decide to blame anybody. I'm one person who, coming from the news, I'm not big into conspiracies, right? I'm looking for the facts, and one person's conspiracy can be explained by somebody else's way of thinking. Like, you didn't know that this is how this person think, but since you didn't understand that, you think it was a conspiracy against you. And he could have easily, son's young, right? He's still a kid to me. Even though he's a grown man with his own family, his own responsibilities, he's still a child to me. And but him not blaming anybody, it that said a lot, because it also said that the resources that were available helped him and his family get through it, even after it happened.
Can you explain what type of resources, like for people out there who can't maybe read between the lines?
They had a person that so they had, of course, they had prenatal care and things like that. But even when Simone died, they had people who reaching out to them and making sure they were okay, and even through the funeral arrangements and what type of support was out there for them, so they didn't just have to go through this by themselves or just lean on family.
And I think that's the issue too. I didn't want to ask about her passing, but sometimes when infants do pass, I think there is a blame that parents have.
Yeah. You want to blame when anybody passes. You want to blame.
We want to find someone to blame.
It's somebody's fault. Yeah. But the reality is, things happen. But what I'm happy to see is that there are organizations and people who are constantly working to make sure that it doesn't happen. And when one does happen, they evaluate and figure out, how do we not make that one happen again in the future, and constantly strengthen that.
Yeah. So what's the conversations been like? I mean, now I know you have other grandchildren. What has that conversation?
11.
Oh gosh. I wouldn't even tell. I couldn't even tell. 11 grandkids. So did they call you grandpa? Like, what they call you?
I try to avoid that word for a long time, because I'm still young, and I don't look like the traditional grandparent, and nobody does nowadays. When I was young, my granddaddy looked like he was 180. I still wear Jordans.
And you have 11 grandchildren.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I have 3 children,
Okay.
and within their families
Yeah.
it's 11, and I try to avoid the granddad, grandpa. So, but finally, my oldest Aubrey, she just started calling me Pawpaw, and when she did that, that was it. I
Yeah.
opened up the floodgates, and I'm Pawpaw,
Okay.
which I was trying to think of something even cooler, but I'll settle for now.
Yeah. You're Papa. So what has that conversation been like now?
With as far as
Going through that process and going through that with your family.
it, it's kind of like my family been hit with a lot of tragedy. Like it's not funny, but it's like just thinking about it, like wow, like in a short amount of time, there's been a lot of stuff happening, and at some point, and I know I'm getting off subject, but this is a health podcast.
Yeah.
At some point, your mental health gets challenged a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so the process and what's the conversation been like? We haven't talked about it. I don't know what he does with his side of the family, or his the other parts of his family, or my daughter-in-law's family, what that conversation is about. But we don't talk about it at all. Um, and a lot of I don't bring it up either because I figure if it's something that we need to talk about, I'm open. We can talk about it, but I don't want to open up a wound if it don't need to be open. If and I kind of let people cope how you gonna cope. I'll watch. You gonna watch and make sure that they okay if you see some signs of destructive behavior, anything is out of the ordinary. I check in from time to time. How y'all feeling? How you doing?
So what has it been for your mental health? What are you doing for your own mental health, especially coming from your personal tragedies as far as in your family, the work that you've now left? What did you do for your mental health?
I used to travel. So
Okay.
I used to just be on a flight um and man, I'll be in another country somewhere, but I haven't traveled in not for fun, maybe once, but that was back and forth to Texas, and I have a sister down there who's
Okay.
by herself, and she's having some issues right now, and has the family on edge right now, and it's hard because we can't just get to her, so we constantly flying down there, hoping that this next run in the hospital they figure it out, and when she go back home this time, she good. Because the one thing I hate is answering my phone.
Yeah.
Like this phone is when you see a certain number on your phone or it's a certain time of the day, you
It
just
brings that like wave of anxiety.
yeah. I'm gonna just share why. It's the trauma started on Christmas Day 2018, December 25th, and I'm about to go over my parents' house. We gonna have a Mexican food night for Christmas. Um, I done bought this little old Nintendo that I'm gonna take over there and tease my mama with it because she bought us a Nintendo for Christmas when we was young, but she took it and played it and wouldn't let us play it,
That
and it
sound like my
tortured
mom.
us. Yeah, it tortured us. So now I'm older. I found one with all the games, Mario, and I'm gonna bring it over there and we gonna play it in my mother's face. Well, that morning I get a call and I'm looking, her phone is calling me. And I'm like, look, I'm like halfway. I partied the night before. I'm just let me sleep for a minute. I'll be over there. And she called again. Typical my mom. I don't answer, so she had called me back to back. About like the third call. I'm like, hello, but it's my sister this time, and she crying and she not breathing. That's what she said. All right, huh? And I don't know what you're talking about. She not breathing. Rob, I knew it was serious and she called me Rob.
Yeah, yeah,
Rob,
wow.
you need to get over here. I ain't breathing. I didn't know how. I've never had this call before, but you play it out in your head. What if, because you watch movies and they get the call and you're like, how would I react if I got that call? It was happening now. Now, how I'm going to react. So all I remember is getting there. I'm hurried up and got to my car and I'm driving over there. And yeah, she didn't make it. You know, she in the house on Christmas in her room, and the paramedics finally come out and it's like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Do y'all want to go in there? Of course not, I don't. So that was traumatizing for me. So now it's like, you know how people tell you, answer your phone because you never know what it is. So now I'm like, every time I look at my phone and I see a family member calling me, I'm like,
Yeah.
what is on the other end of this call?
That's heavy.
In April 18th, 2024, last year, my dad called. Now my little sister called me. And it's like 11:30 at night. My little sister don't ever call me for no reason whatsoever. I don't even think she think I'm cool enough to be her friend. So 'cause she's that much younger than me. Again, Robert. Oh, it's serious. They didn't call. They ain't calling me Bob Johnson. It's like, Robert, Mickey dead. Oh, huh? Now I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And it's my sister. I'm the oldest. She's she's right under me by 2 years. And I'm just like, wait, what? And I hear my dad in the background. It's 11:30 at night, and I hear all this noise in the background, and he upset, and I'm like, something ain't right. This is real. Get the information. I run up to the hospital really quick. The officer come out, the security guard come out, and he say, all right, take me in the room. I know it's real now. Yeah. And he tell me, yeah, she didn't make it, but, you know, if you want, I can take you back there. Shit, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do that. He fast forward August. My son called me. This is every time it's a family member calling, and something happened. And me being a news person, I've been the person that I'm calling you after a tragedy. Because I'm trying to humanize your son, your daughter, your mother, your father that died tragically. And I gotta show empathy, but I also need to know I need to do something for your family and for that person, so that our readers know that these people aren't just victims. They have families that love them. And it's my way of showing people how to deal with other people when a tragedy, it's a story beyond the headlines. Somebody died. That's somebody that died had a family too.
Yes.
And I was that person that was showing up to crime scenes, before the public even know what's going on out there. I'm there and watching them put white sheets over people, watching families pull up to crime scenes and the screams, when they realize what just happened. I'm the person that's sitting through court, and watching video or hearing testimony, really tragic things.
How do you handle that though? How are you, even with what you've experienced and what you've seen that's outside of you, how do you handle that?
Some of it is numb because my upbringing. I was raised around it, so some kind of way, you know, some of it you numb to because it's almost it's like you've seen it before. It's just now I'm seeing it as a professional, and this is. But some of it really get to you. You know, remember these girls, young girls, and one of the out way deep in the county of what was this? This is I don't know. Anyway, there was I forget the name of the township, but there were two young girls killed in a traffic crash. A car hit them, T-boned them. They was on their way from school, and they was the prettiest little girls. You know, and my mind couldn't even stop thinking like, man, here go two little girls that just coming from school, and they whole life is over. They not going back to school, and they didn't do nothing to nobody. They didn't do nothing to no. They didn't have a chance in life to ever do anything. And it's so much that they not gonna be able to do. And it just had me to thinking about. I started thinking about what happened when that call come to my family, but even more so, like, what about their parents? What about their classmates? This hurt so many people. That was one that just I ain't talk about it a lot, but that one I didn't know them. This was I didn't know they people, but I just happened to see a picture of them, and my mind just went to wondering. I wonder what they was like. I wonder was they best friends as kids, and did they fight each other? Did she look up to her older sister? And it hurt.
I hear throughout this entire conversation is this mindset of, well, first off, you're a journalist, so it's always that curiosity.
Yeah.
But it's still that in service to others that you still haven't even answered me on how do you deal with that? Because it is heavy.
I'm trying to figure it out. Like every time you
how
ask,
are you still getting up? How are you still managing?
Every single time you ask me that, I'm trying to think to myself, how do I deal with it? Like
what keeps you smiling?
I don't see a psychiatrist or a counselor, not for that. Or
there's something that's still keeping you going. Have you figured out what that is?
I don't know. I just look, I'm involved in a lot of things, right? And I really like being involved in a lot of things, and giving back. I'm not rich enough to write a check and help with a need.
Yet.
Not yet.
Yet.
I'm getting there.
Put the yet on there.
I'm getting there. Like I can donate here and there now. But my time, my resources, my knowledge, my connections could help, in other areas. My upbringing, my backgrounds, just the way I look at the world, the experiences that I have where I can understand something differently than somebody else can understand it and make a connection to help out in this area.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of that. Like I get a real kick out of that. Of course, sometimes I'm like, people hear me complain, oh my God, I wish my phone would stop ringing. Man, people stop calling me. But really, I like it when I can help somebody. I feel a sense of purpose that me, little old me, had the resources to be able to solve that problem for somebody else, and not gatekeep. So that's one thing to keep me going. Another thing to keep me going is like I got a family. I'm the oldest in on my side of the family, and I'm just trying to show them I'm just trying to show them, like, I'm trying to set a good enough example so the people that I looked at that helped me, that I model myself and I learned how to deal with my problems. Trying to set a blueprint for them, my brothers and sisters, my cousins, my children, my grandchildren, even some of the people in my family is older than me, like some of my uncles and aunties.
No, they're all
People.
looking to you.
Yeah, and just I want to be able to set an example. I want to be able to, and I'm not just saying that. Like, I really get it. I constantly audit myself, constantly. Like, you know what? It's time for you to stop doing this thing because people watching. It's time to start doing something like this. And I'm constantly doing this because that example is real. And the only way we can change the world is doing them little things and changing minds, planting little seeds and letting them grow. And that's the only way it's gonna change. Again, I'm not rich enough to wipe out a problem.
Yeah.
But I'm smart enough and resourceful enough to develop a seed that can grow one day that you can look back and be proud that something that I did right there
Yes.
that helped out somewhere.
You've planted a lot of seeds, Bob, and I want you to know that.
Thank you.
You have. And I look at, I think when I just was talking earlier about being hidden, I think that's the thing when it comes to PR and journalism. We're always trying to hide behind this like shield. Even when I asked you for your bio, he was like, "Oh, not much about me." And I'm like, "What? It's so much about him." But it's like we put this like shield in front of us when there's so much more, and you are truly making an impact, and you have made an impact. This conversation is going to make an impact for people.
Hope so.
It will. I believe that. That's my belief. But before we close out, I want to ask you, what does being healthy look like? We just had this beautiful conversation. Thank you for being so vulnerable. What does it mean to you? What does healthy mean to you?
Man, it changes. It changes. It really does. Just like when you talked about you wanted to be a journalist, and I had to tell you, you are a journalist. Health, but because people have put journalists as just news reporters. Health is just been reduced to how a person looks.
Yeah.
And it's so much more than that. And it changes depending on where you are at in life, what your environment is. It can change your level of status. Health is gonna change. So of course, health is, I look good, I'm lean, my cholesterol is in check. That ain't health. That's aesthetically, that's good for that. But I'm even entering a new a new world of health where for me it's not so much anymore about what I can do in the gym. It's more about if I can be consistent and if I can turn that into a lifestyle that I can live with, whether I look like I got some muscles or I don't, to know in my head that I can maintain this workout routine for the rest of my life and this diet, or whatever I choose, the way that I want to eat, I can do this and be comfortable consistently, and knowing that my overall general health is good because of that. And then you got to look at your financial health. Because your finances will mess with your mental health. And if your mental health is not there, so you get your body together, and that's just one piece of that health, right? But if your mental health ain't there, which can be affected by your finances or your physical health, it affects your mental health. And if your mental health ain't there, that is dangerous, right? That's dangerous because that can affect your motivation to fix any of the other two that feed your mental health.
Yeah.
And so now I'm a little more responsible. Of course, coming up through the years in my professionalism or career wise, I've made more money year over year over year until I've reached the level where I am comfortable. Yeah. And I can really do some things that I could not have done before. But if you're not a person that got there, if you start early developing good habits, you don't have to worry about the level of income, because those habits have already been developed and you already doing them. So mentally, you're still okay.
So at the core of it, mental health.
Mental health.
That's mental health. Like.
But your mental health cannot be okay if your physical health isn't all right. Yeah. If your financial health isn't okay. Financial health don't mean you have to be rich. It just means you know how to live within your means, and that's pretty much it. Your social health. What do you do socially? And is this helping or hurting you? What are you consuming? When we talk about news, is it just the drama, or are you learning about your community? Yeah. You learn about the things that will impact and add value to your life. You constantly growing, because all this stuff gonna still come back to your mental health. And if you
it's like a see a circle. It's just like,
yeah. And if your mental health ain't there, you can't get the rest of those. But if you can't work on any of those, it's gonna throw the mental health off at the same time. And again, I'm getting older now. I had a good career. I can finally feel comfortable saying, "Oh, I might be a seasoned whatever now." I feel comfortable saying that now. But my priorities change, and I know that, life is going to keep lifing, and I need to just be able to control the things I can control to make life as comfortable as possible for me and those around me. Because you stress over things that you ain't got no control over, there's no point in that, because it's just mess up your mental, and when you throw the mental off, you're going to throw the rest of that off.
So what I heard was, get your mental health in check, and everything else will be in flow. But everything else do also have to be in flow too. You want to make sure all of those things are consistent, but definitely make sure that your mental health is good. Thank you so much, Bob.
I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express. No,
Thank you.
You're welcome.